First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now. Thank you very much for joining us wherever you are. We do appreciate it. We're live here at the Fox 12 digital desk at Fox 12 Oregon. I'm going to say Fox 12 one more time. Fox 12 Now. That's the name of this show. So we get to have, though, really in-depth interviews and discuss all kinds of different things on this show. We get to go a little bit longer than what you would normally see on a news program. So thank you to everybody who gets to join us today. And I'm really excited to learn more about the project that we're going to be talking about today, and that is the Oregon Timber Trail Alliance. So what is that? Well, I know that it has to do with mountain biking. I know that it has to do with getting out into the woods. I know it has to do working with communities. All those are great things, but let's find out a little bit more on those details. And we're joined now by Matt Ruddy, Executive Director of the Oregon Timber Trail Alliance. Matt, thanks so much for taking some time to be here with us today. I think, just to get started here for everybody who's watching and myself, can you explain to us what the Oregon Timber Trail Alliance is?
Hey, hi, Greg. Thanks so much for having me on. Yep, I'm Matt, the Executive Director for the Oregon Timber Trail Alliance. And the Oregon Timber Trail is 670 miles of continuous and connected trail that runs throughout the state of Oregon from north to south, south to north, depending on how you ride it. It begins down near the Oregon and California border if you're outside of Lakeview, and it runs through 4 of our national forests, the Fremont Forest, Willamette, Deschutes, and finishes in Mount Hood, or the other way around if you're going the other direction. About 60% of that is single track. There's a few gravel route connectors, and you'll spend a lot of time on U.S. Forest Service lands and BLM land.
So that's a continuous trail running that entire way.
Yes, we're pretty proud to say that we are one of the only continuous mountain biking, backpacking, hiking continuous routes that runs throughout the state of Oregon. A lot of the folks who use the trail are bike packers, so they'll load up their bikes and expect to spend anywhere between 3 to 12 days traveling up and down the state of Oregon on our trail.
Wow, 3 to 12 days out there biking and camping, all on these trails. So let me ask this. Something that's that impressive. How did this all get started?
This was started by the vision of several very dedicated and hardcore bike packers. Gabe Amadeus Tiller, Harry Dalgard, and Chris Bernhardt were some of the founding members. And one of the driving forces behind this was Gabe Tiller, who, when he moved on from his position as the previous executive director, he is now working on a project called Orogenesis, and that's going to be a continuous route that runs up and down the coast, the west coast of North America. So he's really pitching a longer and bigger distance, but what he left us with was this trail to take care of and this trail to steward.
So, talking, I guess, first off, I was unaware of the term bike packer, and I'm surprised that I didn't know that. I bike, but I camp more and hike, so bike packing is a new term for me. What exactly is involved in bike packing?
So in bike packing, you're carrying your tent, your sleeping bag, whatever it is you want to have with you, the water that you need, the food that you're going to eat. And what the Oregon Timber Trail offers is there are turnout points to towns that will support you along the way. Particularly down in the Fremont region, we've got Lakeview, Paisley, and then as you work your way up through the Willamette, Deschutes, and Mount Hood Forest, there are different places where we have a water chart, so you'll be able to stop and refill and get the things that you need. But essentially, you are going as far as you can for as long as you can, being self-supported and self-sustaining with everything on your bike. Yep, there it is. There's the old saloon.
So that's great. That's that support that you can have along the way as you're doing that, because naturally there's no way you could take enough supplies, I'm sure, for that entire thing, or maybe that's possible, but certainly not for me. So that's great to have the support of it. So talk to us about what the Trail Alliance does, though, because I imagine that's a lot of maintaining, a lot of work to keep that up to date and keep all those supply depots or whatever it is where you pick up that stuff, all that in order. So walk us through the entire process.
I sure will. It's the best job. I've been in the position for about a year now, and I think that if I told my parents when I was a kid, and they say, what do you want to do when you grow up? I said, I'd like to be in charge of riding bikes in the woods and camping. They would say, that's not a real job. Guess what, Mom and Dad? It is. We have 4 pillars that we really lean on to support and drive the mission of what we think is most important, and that is stewardship, education, community, and a high quality trail experience. So with stewardship, we just finished our first event this last weekend. We were down at 15 Mile Creek outside of Dufur, cleaning up the trail, making sure it's visible, clearing away any obstructions or anything that's blocking the trail. Trees can fall in any direction, and it seems like they love to fall across the trail. And the next three events we have will be down in the Fremont-Wanema Forest, and we're going to generally be in the Crane Mountain and Werner Mountain area. From previous wildfires, we have a lot of deadfall and beetle kill that essentially blocks the trail. We do have hundreds of trees that are blocking the trail, and essentially what we do with these stewardship weekends is that we commit 2 to 3 days, and usually a volunteer crew of about 20 to 25 people. And that's everyone ranging from trained chainsaw operators to folks who want to clean up the brushing and tread. There we go. That's a good picture right there. And make the trail passable for people who want to go on these journeys. Sometimes it is not possible to keep up with what weather and Mother Nature is inflicting upon the trails. And so one of the things we've recently done is created reroutes around some of the most troublesome spots. So for now, you can still ride most of the trail. I would say 80 to 90% of the trail, even if we have parts that have been heavily damaged by wildfire and weather and climate change. We have adapted routes that will let you get around it. And I would encourage anyone who's thinking about riding the trail this summer to go to our website and check it out. Stewardship is a big part of that. Education is the second component. And what we are finding is that we need to recruit new and younger volunteers who want to be in the woods and want to work in the forest, because some of our most experienced and wise elders are aging out of the period in which they can be out there doing that work. And so teaching people what a good trail looks like, how the slope of it should lean, how to clear it safely and securely is one of our very, very important things. And that leads us into community. And doing so means we're able to go to a lot of the gateway communities in very rural parts of Oregon and reach out to the community members and people who are interested in taking care of the land. And what I've found working in each of these 4 forest regions is that there's a lot we can learn about each other when we decide to commit to a day or 2 or more of working on the trails. We all come from vastly different backgrounds and sometimes have vastly different views about the world in general. But when we're out there working on the trail, there's a real chance to connect trails and connect with people. And we get to learn a lot about each other when we're out there doing that work. And essentially what that leads to is a high quality trail experience. The map of the Timber Trail has been downloaded by riders and adventurers in 32 different countries. And we've had folks from 17 different countries travel to Oregon for the chance to explore the Timber Trail. We're one of the components of the Oregon Trails Coalition, and recently have, I would say, earned the status and become part of what they are labeling signature trail experiences in Oregon. And so I would say alongside North Carolina and Colorado, Oregon has the proud status of being in the top 3 states in the country in terms of the percentage of volunteer time, the amount of trail maintenance we do, and the overall commitment to stewarding the outdoors.
That's pretty incredible. Some pretty impressive statistics right there too. That many different countries have come here and downloaded, or at least downloaded the map, to potentially ride it here. Well, let's talk about it from the general standpoint. So you're not an expert. You're not an expert mountain biker. You're not an expert bike packer, but you have an interest in it, or you want to go out and start, try to help out with this and learn more about it. What is the best starting place for that? Say it's a complete novice, like, I don't know, maybe me.
All abilities of riders and all abilities of people who want to work on trails are more than welcome, because we all start somewhere. And I would say most of my board members can ride circles around me. I am at best an intermediate and cautious mountain biker. I like to say, especially getting into my mid to late 40s, that I try my best to ride within the means of my deductible. Because you can go over the bars, and that really changes your day pretty quickly. One of the things we're featuring recently is more of our tier loops and day rides up and down this corridor. I'm going to knock that over if I'm not careful. But what we want to emphasize is that we welcome all riders of all abilities, and we welcome trail workers of any kind of ability, because we all started somewhere. And so if you load up your bike and you ride 5 miles to a campground, you sleep overnight, and then ride 5 miles back, that's a win. If your ability level is a little higher than that, and you want to go 10, 20, 30 miles or more, then that's your adventure. I know there were the choose your own adventure books when we were growing up, but we really want to emphasize that this trail is for everybody and not just mountain bikers. We try to groom our trails to a tread that is acceptable for equestrians, for adaptive riders who might be in different kinds of bicycle setups, and for thru hikers. We're a federally funded nonprofit, so the trail really is for everybody. I do want to give a quick shout out to Olaf, who came all the way over from Sweden to work with us last summer, and we still have his trail tool because he bought it at Home Depot. He knew he couldn't get on the plane with it. So he came out to ride the timber trail, work on the timber trail, and made a tool donation to us. And it was great to have 3 days to work on the trail with him.
That's really cool. So flying all the way from Sweden to do this. Well,
yeah.
I know going forward, you mentioned that it's kind of whatever level you feel comfortable with, that somebody can go out there and participate in this and help out and volunteer and get to see some pretty cool areas of the state as well. I know I have heard you talk about this before, just behind the scenes, where Matt's brought up some of the really amazing areas you've been able to see, and I'm completely jealous of that, but that's part of what you get to do with this, because you are going out into these aren't the typical forests and campgrounds that people are going to normally be going to, or maybe that you're used to, unless you do this kind of thing. I think that's really neat that you get to see these other parts of the state.
Yeah, I would agree. If for those of us who tend to remain a little secluded in the northern part of the state, I would say you absolutely have to go down and see the Fremont-Wenema Forest. It's like a pastel or watercolor when you get to the basin and range and you're looking out across Summer Lake, and it's not nearly as crowded as some of our more popular spots around the state.
Well, looking forward here over the next, couple of weeks and months. I know you're leading a drive right now for some more volunteers. Can you tell us about that part of it?
Absolutely. We're looking for more volunteers. Pardon? More volunteers, and we've launched our big spring donor campaign. One of the things that's very, very important to keep in mind is that we do everything we can to find the grants and agreements that will help us fund the work outside of our organization. Very often those grants and agreements don't cover our overhead. They don't cover our indirect costs. And so donors are crucial to helping us keep the lights turned on, our website updated, being able to reach out and get in touch with people who want to work on trails. As far as stewardship goes, we have 3 events coming up that are down in that southern region of Oregon that I talked about, down in the Fremont-Wenema Forest. That's going to be May 26th through 29th, June 9th through 11th, and then June 30th through July 2nd. And any level of experience is more than welcome. We're also pretty proud to say we've become one of the only SAW program training operators down in the Fremont-Wenema Forest. If you're up around Mount Hood or you're out near Oak Ridge, there are plenty of opportunities with Cascade Volunteers and the Trail Keepers of Oregon. But if you're down near Klamath Falls and you're down near Lakeview, pretty soon we're going to be operating classes to teach people how to safely and carefully use chainsaws.
Well, Matt, which that sounds fun. Just learning that part of it too. I'm just going to be honest with myself. But for to wrap this up here too for everybody, I want to just ask you, what is it that you most love about going out onto this trail?
I like the peace of mind. I think those of us in Portland and other cities, there are times when I'm amazed I've gotten through most of this interview without knocking that over, and I came pretty close. There's a lot of peace and quiet out there, and there's a unity with doing this work with other people. And I think that when we tend to feel a little crowded and claustrophobic in some of our more packed in areas, there is really nothing like being a little short on energy and maybe a little bit short on water, and you've just cranked your last pedal up to about a 1,100 foot climb, and then you're looking out into the middle of what looks like nowhere but is beautiful. And there's some peace and quiet to that solitude, and then there is also a lot of unity in doing the adventure together. And so I think we've all had camping trips we get excited about. We've all had events that really get us revved up. But there really is nothing like knowing you're pulling into camp, seeing your board members, your staff, your volunteers, other people who are really in this together. And it's at the heart of what we've been talking about recently, that we are working on connecting trails and connecting people. A lot of good stuff happens out there.
Well, Matt, thank you very much, for joining me here today to talk about this. I mean, it sounds pretty incredible. I kind of want to get out there myself now. That's, you're inspiring me. I feel a little crowded sometimes. So that sounds pretty amazing. And obviously people can go check everything out. Can you give us the website one more time?
Yes, the website is OregonTimberTrail.org, and along with our stewardship events, I would be amiss if I didn't mention that on June 3rd, for anyone who is in and around the Bend area, we'll be celebrating National Trails Day by partnering with CODA, the Central Oregon Trail Alliance. We'll be meeting up at Cogwild, and we're just going to go on a fun bike ride. Any level, any ability, and we'll have some swag to give away, some gear, some water bottles, some other stuff like that. We just really want to encourage people to be out on trails, out on their bikes, and riding together. And OregonTimberTrail.org. That will keep you up to speed on everything that's happening this summer and beyond.
Well, Matt, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here today. Fun to talk about this, and I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Greg.
All right, so again, that is Matt Ruddy with the Oregon Timber Trail Alliance right there. So pretty cool stuff that they're doing. I want to say this, though. This is Fox 12 now. I'm Greg Nibbler. We've got more coming up. So at 2 p.m., we're going to be right back here. Wherever you're finding us, wherever you're watching, that's where we're going to be. And we're going to be talking about the black bears that are in Forest Park. I know it is huge news going on right now because this doesn't happen very often here in Portland, and there have been multiple sightings apparently, so we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss what you do if you encounter a black bear. We've got the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. Beth from them is going to be joining me here in just a few minutes, so just like I said, set your timer for 10 minutes or so, and I'll be right back here. I'll talk to you then. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.